So British Airways did us dirty again. They devalued their British Airways Avios when it comes to redemptions for American airline flights. If you don't already know, credit card points don't transfer directly over to American Airlines. In order to book American airline flights with Chase, American Express, Capital One miles, you need to transfer them over to a partner airline like British Airways. Well, British Airways has made those American airline flight redemptions much more expensive to a point where it's probably not worth it anymore to redeem British Airways Avios for American airline flights. What we can do instead is book through a different partner airline and maybe sometimes even save 50% on the points by booking through a different partner airline. In this video, I'll go over which airline partner you should book American airline flights through now and how you can really maximize those redemptions. My name is Max and I help people maximize their airline miles, hotel points, and credit card points. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and let's get started. In the last 7 to 8 months, British Airways devalued the American Airlines redemption twice now. So just last week and also a couple months ago, like 7 months ago, they also devalued the redemption as well. So British Airways is obviously signaling that they don't want you to be using their British Airways Avios for American Airlines operated flights. So now what we're going to do instead is, instead of booking through British Airways, we're going to be booking through Qatar Airways, which is also another one world partner that partners with American Airlines, and booking through Qatar Airways will require fewer Avios. Well, you're probably thinking, like, how do I earn Qatar Airways Avios? Well, American Express and City points transfer directly over to Qatar Airways Avios, but if you don't have American Express or City points, you can still accomplish this redemption by transferring your credit card points over to British Airways, and from British Airways, you can move it over to Qatar Airways at a 1-to-1 ratio for free instantly. And so you can convert your British Airways Avios over to Qatar Airways Avios instantly and for free, and vice versa. If you're interested in any credit cards, and using my affiliate links down in the description helps support my work. So now let's take a look at some examples and see how much cheaper Qatar Airways Avios is versus British Airways Avios. British Airways Avios redemption works in the same way that the Qatar Airways Avios redemption works. The further you fly distance-wise, the more Avios they're going to charge for that flight, for that American Airlines flight. And so for flights under 600 miles, like super short flights, for example, from LAX to Phoenix, British Airways now charges 12,000 British Airways Avios, which is pretty expensive. And if you book through Qatar Airways Avios, it's only 6,000 Qatar Airways Avios. So much, much less. And so that's 50% off if you book through Qatar Airways Avios versus British Airways Avios for that example. For flights that are a little longer, that are like up to 1,150 miles, that's like LAX to Cabo, British Airways is charging 16,000 Avios, whereas Qatar Airways is charging 9,000 Avios. So in this case, Qatar Airways Avios wins again. Flights that are up to 2,000 miles, like for example, LAX to Chicago, British Airways charges 18,000 British Airways Avios, whereas Qatar Airways charges 11,000 Qatar Airways Avios. Qatar Airways wins again in this situation. For some of the cross-country flights from like LAX to JFK that are up to 3,000 miles, British Airways charges 20,000 British Airways Avios, whereas Qatar Airways charges 13,000 Qatar Airways Avios. So again, in this case, Qatar Airways Avios wins again. So for the longest time, we have always talked about booking Hawaii flights through British Airways. Well, now that's kind of thrown out the window, and it's better to book Hawaii flights through Qatar Airways Avios because they're charging 13,000 Qatar Airways Avios versus what British Airways would charge you, 20,000 British Airways Avios. So in all of these distance bands, Qatar Airways obviously beats out British Airways in every single distance band. So that's why you should be booking your American airline flights through Qatar Airways Avios instead of British Airways Avios, because you're getting a much better deal for the same exact flight if you book through Qatar Airways Avios. But what's the catch? There's always a catch. And the catch is that not all American airline flights are searchable on Qatar Airways Avios or even available on Qatar Airways Avios. So that's the tricky part, is that when you're searching on Qatar Airways' website, it's a little tricky to pull up American airline flights. So let's hop over to my computer and I'll show you what that's kind of like. So I'm here on the Qatar Airways website and I'm currently logged into my account. You have to make sure that you're logged into your account, because once you're logged in, then you have this option to book an award flight. And in this case, let's do LAX to Chicago ORD and January 16th, for example, and click continue. And I'm gonna change this to economy, click confirm, and then click on search flight. So it's going to search for the award availability. These are the flight results. And as you can see here, this is operated by American Airlines. And a lot of these flights are operated by American Airlines because that's what we're looking for, and American Airlines operates that route. Qatar Airlines partners with American Airlines. You can also do some crazy stuff where it's like LAX to London Heathrow to Chicago, but obviously that's going to cost you a bunch of points, because if you go and click on that, 55,000 Avios and $686 in taxes and fees. And so obviously we're looking for an American Airlines flight. Let's pick this first one here, and it shows you 11,000 Avios and $10 in taxes and fees. So the taxes and fees are a little bit higher here on the Qatar Airways website, but it's like $5 more. It's not that much more expensive. So that's the simple search, going from the home page and searching on this page. And say you don't want to go to Chicago, you want to change this to something else. So this is where it gets a little tricky. If you put in Las Vegas, it says no cities matching. If you put in, let's say, Salt Lake City, no cities matching. If you put in Denver, which is a very popular hub, Denver doesn't even show up. And so the reason why is that I believe this page only searches cities that Qatar Airways operates to. So it'll give you this error that no cities matching your request. And so that's where you have to go back to the home page. And on the home page here, this is where you can change and put in like Denver or Las Vegas. And let's do January 16th again. Click on continue and run the search. And then it lets you search from LAX to Las Vegas. And so that's the tricky part, is that hitting modify search up here gives you limited options when it comes to searching. Going back to the home page and running the search will give you more options to search more cities that American Airlines flies in and out of. And so as you can see here, this is 16,000 Avios and $10 in taxes and fees from LAX to Las Vegas, which is less than what British Airways is charging. So that's kind of how you run the search on the Qatar Airways website. Oh, and there's also one more thing. Sometimes Qatar won't let you search for award availability if you don't have Qatar Airways Avios in your account. And so currently I have 211,000 Avios in my account right here from a redemption that went wrong. And so that's why I have so many Avios stuck in here. In that event, that if you get the error and you're not able to search for award availability, you might need to transfer like 1,000 credit card points over to Qatar Airways or British Airways and move them over to Qatar Airways in order to search for award availability on the Qatar Airways website. So something to keep in mind if you're not able to search for award availability on the Qatar Airways website. So while Qatar Airways offers their better rate, it might be a little bit more difficult and require some additional work if you want to book American Airline flights through Qatar Airways Avios. But it is the better deal, and you might be saving thousands of points. It might be worth putting that little effort in so that you can save thousands of points. So comment below if you have any questions. Let me know what your thoughts are on this British Airways devaluation and whether you're gonna be booking your American Airline flights through Qatar Airways now. And give the search a try to see if you can find some of those American Airline flights on Qatar Airways' website. Thanks for watching this far. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.